Hello and welcome back to another Math with Miss V video. We're still working on equations, and in this video we're looking at multi-step equations. Now this is defined as anything with more than two steps. So in this video we'll use our knowledge of solving two-step equations to solve multi-step equations, and as with all previous videos, the variable will only be on one side of the equal sign. So there's three steps that we need to follow. The first is distribute as needed. I will show you one example that follows undoing the distributive property like we did in the previous video, and why that's not the best idea and where it's better to distribute. The next step is to simplify each side of the equal sign by combining like terms. And the final step is to use inverse operations to isolate the variable so that we can solve. So let's jump right in with a few examples. I've posted our three steps on the side of the screen so you can refer back to them at any time to help you out. Our first example is 15 equals 3x minus 5 plus 2. And just like with all the other equation problems, we want to split the two sides of our equation through the equal sign. So the first thing we want to do is see if there's anything we can combine. So I check the left-hand side and I see the 15's by itself, so I'm just going to leave it alone. Now I'm going to check the right-hand side and I see that there's a 3x and a plus 2x. So those can be combined, and that gives me 5x minus 5. So now I just have a two-step equation and I'm ready to solve. I'm going to bring my 15 down so that everything lines up neatly. So I'm isolating my variable, that's the goal. I'm going to undo subtraction with addition. Okay, 15 plus 5, almost made a mistake there. 15 plus 5 is 20. A negative and a positive of the same number cancel, so we're left with 5x. So 20 equals 5x. The 5's being multiplied, so we're going to undo it with division. Multiplying and dividing by the same number cancel, so x equals 20 divided by 5 is 4, so x equals 4. We can substitute that back in, so let's just look off to the side and say 3 times 4 minus 5 plus 2 times 4. 3 times 4 is 12, minus 5 plus 2 times 4 is 8. 12 minus 5 is 7, 7 plus 8 is 15, and that is what we wanted. Let's look at our next example. So we have 8s plus 2 minus 7 equals 35. So 8s plus 2 minus 7 equals 35. I'm going to split my equation through the equal sign. I'm going to check the left-hand side. There's nothing to combine with the 8s. That's the only thing with a variable. But I do see that I can combine my plus 2 and my minus 7. These are different signs. It tells me to subtract. 2 minus 7 gives us a negative 5. Bring down my 8s equals. There's nothing on this side with the 35, so I'm just going to write it down. Now I'm ready to find my variable and solve. I'm going to undo my subtraction first with addition. A negative 5 and a positive 5 cancel, so 8s equals 35 plus 5 is 40. I'm going to undo my multiplication with division. So s equals 40 divided by 8 is 5. So we get for this problem that s is equal to 5. Okay. Let's look at our next example. So we have negative 2x plus 14, minus 6x equals negative 10. I'm going to drop in my line. So I'm looking at the left-hand side. I see I have a negative 2x and a minus 6x I can combine. Those are the same signs. They're both negative, so I'm going to add and get a negative 8x plus 14 equals, the negative 10 doesn't have anything to combine with, so it's just negative 10. I'm going to undo this 14 by subtracting. A positive and a negative of the same number cancel, so we're left with 8x equals. These are the same signs tell me to add. Negative 10 plus negative 14 is a negative 24. Now we need to undo a multiplication with division. Okay, remember that when we undo with division, it takes the negative sign with it. So a negative 8 multiplied and divided, they cancel. So we'll mark those out and say x equals 24 divided by 8 is 3. A negative divided by a negative is a positive. So our answer is just positive 3. Okay, we'll look at another example. So this one does have the distributive property. Now I just want you to watch and see what happens if I were to undo the distributive property first. So that is being multiplied, so we're going to divide by 2, but we have to divide every term by 2. So not only are we dividing the left-hand side of the equals, so the left-hand side has 2 terms. These are separated, so they both have to be divided by 2. And that's really some complications. I will say that one of the most missed things I see where students working, if they try this method, is to forget to divide the other terms by 2. And so we don't want to do that. So in this case, we're going to distribute as needed first. We have 4m plus 2 times negative 3m is a negative 6m. And 2 times 6 is 12. Equals 12. Now let's split. We can combine. So our 4m and our negative 6m have different signs. Different signs tell us to subtract. 6 minus 4 is 2. I have more negatives, so it's a negative 2m plus 12 equals 12. Okay, I'm going to undo my addition first, so minus 12 on both sides. A positive and a negative make a 0, so these cancel, all of the same number. So negative 2m equals, and on this side we have a positive and a negative of the same number. They cancel and there we're left with a 0, but we can still continue. So we're undoing our multiplication with division. So we get that m equals, well, 0 divided by any number is just a 0. So m equals 0. So let's look at our next example. Whoops, too far. Okay, we have 102 equals negative 6 parentheses 2x minus 5 close parentheses plus 3. So we have 102 equals, so we're going to distribute this negative 6. 6 times 2 is 12. Negative times a positive is a negative, so negative 12x. Negative 6 times negative 5 is a positive 30. And we bring down our 3x. Let's combine. So I can see I have a negative 12x, whoops, and a positive 3x. Be careful with what you write. I almost made a mistake here. So make sure you're taking your time. These are different signs. They tell me to subtract. 12 minus 3 is 9x. I have more negatives, so this is a negative. Bring down my 30. Bring down my 102. Now it's time to isolate the variable. I'm going to undo my subtraction first, so subtract 30 from both sides. A positive 30 and a negative 30 cancel, so I have a negative 9x equals 102 minus 30 gives us 72. I'm going to divide both sides by 9 to undo my multiplication. X equals 9 goes into 72 8 times. A positive divided by a negative is a negative, so our answer is negative 8. And we have one more example. I wanted to throw one in with a fraction just so you can see what's going on. And I went ahead and went with one that has some distributive property so that you see it and you're aware of it and you don't get scared by it. So the first thing we want to do is to distribute this -3/4 to both things inside of the parentheses. We have 8/12 equals. So 3 times 2 is 6, but I can simplify this by dividing them both by 2. So I'd actually end up with a -3/2 x. Okay, 3 times, well, I can see there's both 3's here, so those will cancel and make 1's. And then the 2 and the 4 will cancel and make a 1 and a 2. So I actually end up with a +1/2. And then I have a -1/4 x. So I'm looking for things to combine, and I see that I made a mistake simplifying this first one, because to combine with the 1/4, I'm going to have to change my denominator. So I'm just going to erase this and remultiply. So it's 3 times 2 gives me 6/4, and that's a negative. So now I have common denominators, and I'm going to combine. So 6/4 plus, so -6/4 plus a -1/4 gives me a -7/4 x plus 1/2. Okay, and bring down my 8/12. Now it's time to move the 1/2 to the opposite side. So I'm going to do that by subtracting. A positive and a negative of the same number cancel. I'm going to have to change my 1/2 into something with a common denominator of 12. And I know that I can multiply a 2 times a 6 to get 12. So 1 times 6 is 12. 1 times 6 is 6, my mistake. Okay. 8/12 minus 6/12 gives me 2/12. And on the other side, I'm just left with my -7/4x. We move a fraction by multiplying by the reciprocal. So that would be 4/7. But we remember they take their negatives with them. Okay. So this side would have canceled out. So we're left with x equals. I can simplify my 4 and my 12. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 12 divided by 4 is 3. 1 times 2 is 2. 7 times 3 is 21. And a negative times a positive is a negative. So I find that this problem equals -2/21. And that's how we simplify and solve multi-step equations where there is only a variable on one side of the equal sign. Thanks for dropping by this Math with Miss V video, and I hope to see you in a future video. Bye.